What is crack-a-lackin', Ridge Runner Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Ridge Runners Live. Tonight we are joined by an incredible runner who recently finished second place at the Super Bowl Trail Championships 50K this past weekend. This man has absolutely been crushing every single race he's entered in recently. And over the past couple of years now. I mean, people that know him closely know this is not a recent phenomenon in his world. And, all it takes is one conversation with Jeremy to see his love for the sport of ultra running. So we are super pumped up to sit down with Jeremy Pope tonight. Jeremy, how are you doing?
Doing well, man. Thanks for having me on.
We're super pumped to talk to you about, all things in your ultra running career so far, as well as, the race from this past weekend. So we'll dive into it shortly. We are joined tonight by JD3, the lovely John Dolaki III, who ran at Shawnee State Forest for the first time this past weekend. How you doing, dude?
Humbled after this weekend. That area is very tough, but amazing to be at. I'm doing great. I feel great. I just got back from a long run. And I'm ready to get into this show tonight. So obviously, let's start off with our favorite thing. Jeremy, what are you drinking over there?
So, local brew, JFB, and this is a what they call the Burner IPA.
That is an awesome can.
Gotta love Wooster Brewery, honestly. I mean,
nice. What do you got, Wesley?
I've got another local brew to me, Bitterroot Brewing Company, Snow Church Milkshake IPA. I've had this one a couple times now, but it's definitely one of my staples out here. What about you, John?
Did you ever learn what a milkshake IPA was, or did you not talk to Nick yet?
Cam was supposed to talk to Nick. I'm supposed to just get the information from Cam and pass it along when the time comes. So I'll have that conversation with Cam, who will talk to Nick and get that squared away. John, what about you?
I'm drinking another local beer to me as well, Northwater. There we go. Northwater Brewing Company. I got the Scooter again. It's an Imperial Stout, and I'm excited because it just kicked down at the brewery not too long ago. So I got 2 cans, and I'm enjoying it.
I missed the heavy stuff. I got just the light IPA.
This one's only 5.6%, so milkshake sounds heavy, but it's surprisingly not.
And you're getting ready for spring, right? We just had fall spring, obviously this past weekend here in Ohio, and once you got to change over, you got to change over and commit.
Definitely.
So let's start things off with just kind of getting to know you a little bit more about you and your ultra running career and kind of how you got up to this point. I'm sure, maybe when you first ran your first trail race, you were crushing it from day one, but take us back to what it was like kind of getting to the point where you are now and kind of how you found trail and ultra running.
Yeah. So, honestly, I only started running, I think it's probably been maybe 7 to 8 years. At the time, I was extremely overweight. So I lost a little weight, got into running just 2 miles, 3 miles, do your little local 5K, do those things. But I started losing a lot of weight. I probably lost maybe 60 pounds in the process. So once I started doing that, it was kind of fun, right? Like, pounds are flying off. Like, I was running more and more and more. Like, I got the itch, basically. Signed up for Akron half marathon, ran the half marathon, and then it was maybe a month later I hopped into the Fuzzy Fandango 25K, and thought I was dying out there, honestly. But finished that, and honestly just had the trail itch from there. I didn't get anything longer for a while. I did a 50K or 2 maybe, but I just kind of stayed on the road. But I just kept getting beat up. It seemed like I'd have a little block and then run a marathon, and it's like something pops up, right? Down for a few weeks, down for a few months. But then I noticed, like, every time I ran a trail, things were great. Like, it just seemed to recover well. So that's kind of how I got the trail itch. And then as of late, I've I've just found good success in using races as little springboards for fitness, when you don't necessarily have the time. I have 2 kids and a wife. We're busy. So just like picking a race and then build a race on a race as fitness, when you can't, I mean, I'm not going to be able to have the time to go out and run 30 miles every week, but like some guys. So 30 milers, I mean.
So the just to remind everyone real quick, if you're watching live, go ahead and drop those questions in the chat, and we'll make sure we get those to Jeremy. I kind of wanted to jump a little further into the beginning of that conversation regarding the weight loss and that kind of journey. Yeah. I myself also had that same kind of similar journey in terms of losing weight. How did that weight loss affect your desire to keep running? Was that kind of the intent when you went out to like start running? Was it to try to lose a little bit of weight, or did that just come as a side effect of another reason maybe?
I think it was maybe a little bit of both. It was kind of like a little goal, and then it became more and more, as I started to lose more and more weight. Like I would feel better. I just, yeah.
Cool. And then moving forward from that, did it help you keep going though? Was it like an extra motivational piece, I guess, further, or to keep it off as you progress further down with your running career?
Yeah, I truly think it was. I finally got to the point where I felt so good, and I felt like my body was in a good state where it was the right weight maybe for me. Mm-hmm. And then ultimately I truly just felt healthy at that point. And that's kind of where I've been, the past couple of years. Weight fluctuates and stuff like that, but I try not to pay attention to it. Just, I tried dieting again a few times and ultimately just found like eating what I want in moderation, drinking what I want in moderation, and not making it miserable. So
yeah. I love that. I love one of the things I appreciate you saying is not focusing on like the number so much. You were just like, I felt good.
Yeah.
I just felt right. And I think that's great. And that's something that we should all strive for, I think, in the feeling good. So I love that. We got a question from David Creedon in the chat and says, it's probably kind of good for later as well. Maybe we'll touch up on it later, but what kind of upcoming races you got this year?
So the main goal, I guess, here in the near future would be Mohican 100. So I've done the 50 there 2 times, I think. And then the marathon 3 times, I think. So I think it's time to step up there.
Nice. I agree, for what it's worth.
And it's a good year, like all these guys going to Western states like Jacob and Arlen. So
yeah, interesting year for Ohio.
Yeah, so I gotta kind of want to go back a little bit too. You kind of said that you like using races to kind of train for other races, and you did that going into Super Bowl. You ran the Rocks and Roots 50K less than a month before. Talk a little bit about you mentioned why that philosophy you use that philosophy, but talk about the benefits that you gain from it, and maybe on the confidence side of things too, like knowing, okay, just a month ago I went out and ran this effort at this pace, and now I know I can go out and do this. Like, how does that translate for you on race day?
Yeah, 100%. So, I guess going into Rocks and Roots, I wanted to see where I was and see, just kind of get a headspace, see where the fitness was, those types of things. But I think rather than just running a long run on the weekend, why not go somewhere, have fun, join up with people, race a little, just truly to me, that's where like the fitness was building last year, just building race on race. and doing it in a way that it made sense, not to put myself in harm's way, I guess, and um, not to talk about injuries, but just stay away from 'em, I guess. Um, so like for Rocks and Roots, I truly wanted to get out there and see what kind of headspace I was in, and just truly see where the legs were. So, and I think that benefited me on Saturday at Super Bowl. Yeah.
And you talked about last year how you use that as, going into kind of one of your bigger races, Canal Corridor 100 miler. And I mean, you did this to a T last year, starting off with Mohican Marathon, then you did Buckeye Trail 50K, upping the distance ever so slightly, winning both of those races, then going to Burning River 50 miler a couple weeks later, winning that race before going to Twisted Branch 100K a couple weeks after that, and then, having a 6-week or 8-week window before Canal Corridor. Cam, I know, is going to be chopping at me a little bit to ask this question, so it's on behalf of Cam for this one. But are all these races A races for you, and you're going into it with the mindset of I want to perform my best, or is it more of the mindset of I want to go run a specific time for the first half of the race and then see where my legs kind of take me? Because I mean, you won three out of the 5 races, and obviously a second place finish at Canal Corridor 100 is not a bad result either.
Yeah. So I know it sounds a little cliche, like nothing out of there was necessarily an A race, I guess. So at the beginning of last year, I had plantar fasciitis for 3 months straight, could not get rid of it, tried running, tried not running. It was miserable. The previous year to that, I tore my meniscus at the beginning of the year. So I honestly was just scared. Like I didn't know how my body was going to hold up necessarily, I guess. So I signed up for Mohican Marathon, ran it, recovered well, and I was like kind of just looking around, waiting for something to happen almost, and from there, like each race I did, I just signed up for the next, like a week after. Truly, I didn't have a plan in place. I just got out of the race, and I'm like, okay, I'm not no bullet holes. We're okay here. So, I ultimately wanted to get a Western States qualifier. That was like one of my goals. And I didn't know if Canal was feasible for myself. That's why I kind of went to Twisted Branch. I could get the 100K, I could get the Western States qualifier, and like it was out of the way almost. And then that gave me truly what I felt less pressure at Canal. So I could just go into Canal and see what was there, honestly. So, and as far as I guess answering the time questions, Buckeye Trail 50K is a swamp fest every year. Like a time goals there, it's hard to. I knew at Burning River 50 I was shooting for under 7 hours, but didn't get there, which is fine. Like it was just rainy, muggy day, but yeah, ultimately it was awesome. Twisted Branch, I had no clue what to expect. Like a gnarly race and just a beautiful race, honestly. I don't know if you guys experienced it or not, but great race. So I think that answered most of it.
For sure, and I appreciate that training advice, and I kind of want to dive into something that you kind of brought up there as well before we finally go deep into Super Bowl Trail Championships 50K. Is I want to talk about your plantar fasciitis and the injury kind of coming back from that. And you mentioned that you tried not running. What was kind of how you solved that? And like you said, you just tried running, Mohican to kind of build some confidence back for the marathon distance there. But what were the confidence builders before that you kind of took that you realized, okay, you're kind of able to possibly give it a go?
Honestly, my success was I see Leo Cormanick at Ohio Sports Chiropractic, and after not running for I think it was 4 weeks with plantar, and literally the plantar fasciitis didn't change. It was the same as day one, honestly. So obviously frustrated. Leo literally said to me, "We just need to blue collar this thing and go to work on it." So I had a little regimen that I did every night. I scraped it with a scraping tool, just calf raises every single night. And I think it was probably, I got back to running slowly. I think it was within like 3 weeks. It truly just started to let up, and it was almost like it just gave up. So like maybe 5 weeks after that, I was good to go. So then leading into Mohican, I just, I had runs that were pain free, and that was literally, I was like, okay, let's see what 26 miles does.
Sounds like you it worked out for you in the end. You got the nice year going for you, and I think didn't you also run Bigfoot right at the end of the year? Yeah. That was also a swamp fest, wasn't it?
I've seen some muddy races. I'm not so sure that that was the muddiest race I've ever been a part of.
Yeah, it looked that way with everyone who was coming across the finish line there. A couple quick comments from the chat here. Maggie's in there, says, "Beautiful is not my description of Twisted Branch, but I love the positivity." And then Rob Ballou is in the chat also, and 2 questions from him. It says, "Any plans to run Bob's Big Timber this year? And what do you primarily train on roads or trails?"
I would say the Twisted Branch comment, I guess, visually speaking. So as far as like the big timber, like the backyard stuff, I just don't, does not interest me at all. I'm not sure why, but so no to Bob's Big Timber. But what was the other question I missed?
The other one was, do you primarily train on road or trails?
Primarily road, honestly. I try to get a long run in on the trail, but 2 kids, wife, full-time job, it's roads. So
It's quite impressive though to see you like up and down those hills and the trails so fast, and your primary training is roads. But I'm assuming there's at least some ups and downs on the roads out there in Wooster, or in that area.
Worcester's hilly, but yeah. You must not have seen me on the 4th loop there at Super Bowl then, I don't think.
Saw you finish, and you seem pretty strong coming up that little piece right there. So, but speaking of that, let's dive into the Super Bowl and let's talk about that whole race, all the different loops, the course itself, and let's start with like why the Super Bowl 50K.
So it's 15 minutes from my house, so that's helpful. But no, it's just like if you're running trails within Worcester, that's the only place to go. So it's truly the backyard course.
It's so it's a course itself is 4 loops of about 7 some miles, if I'm correct, with I think 1,000-ish per loop.
Basically 1,000 feet, yeah.
And most of it seemed, I saw half of the course and it was pretty runnable. Not super rooty, but looked like a fun, groovy course to be on.
Yeah.
So how did that first 2 loops go? You lined up at the start and y'all took off out of there real fast. How'd that go?
Yeah, I think you described the course to a T, really. It is runnable, but it seems it's just chopped up enough to where you can't like get in a groove. There's 7 miles and there's probably like 6 or 7 big hills in there. So it's like you don't even have a mile of just constantly flowing trails. So I guess the gun went off and so did Alex. And then we kind of, then there were the rest of us. So, I ran with Jacob Conrad for the first 2 loops side by side, basically. So I think it was the end of the second loop. Then Brock Martin caught up to us. And then the 3 of us ran the whole entire third loop together. There were some games in there of people taking the lead and dropping back. But really, we just kind of rolled through conversation, telling jokes, like the whole deal. So just truly blowing time, waiting for the 4th loop to happen, basically. So.
Yeah, from my perspective, when I saw you guys all come through in a line like that, it was just like you guys had little squad goals rolling through, and I was like, "Are you all drafting, trying to keep someone fast so that you all can catch up with like Alex, or what's going on here? Is it everyone versus Alex? What?"
I think it would take 3 to beat Alex, honestly.
He was pushing pretty hard, it seemed like, on that. But so that 4th loop then, so then you started getting into, obviously you said some little jockeying going on beforehand, but the 4th loop, it's when it really matters at that point. Who pushed when, and how did you bring yourself back up? Because when I saw you were in the tail end of that pack.
Yeah, so I spent the whole 3rd loop. I'm not sure what I was doing, honestly. Maybe feeling bad for myself or something. I'm not. I was losing contact with those guys, and I just kind of rolled through some calories, told myself to just kind of regroup, don't lose contact with them, or at least be able to see them. I think when I saw you, John, on Saddleback there, I was kind of losing contact with them, but I think Brock was maybe pushing a little, and Jacob was hanging on to Brock. And by the end of that loop, I had kind of caught up. Then I think the calories kicked in. And when we entered the 4th loop, I think Jacob had a little cramp in and stuff that he was working through. So Brock got in front of me at the start of the 4th loop and started pressing a little. And we were honestly just kind of feeding off of each other. And I think it was maybe midway through that loop, I knew there was a little bit easier section down to the creek. I just kind of pressed a little bit there. And I think it was just enough to hold off Brock for those last maybe 3 or 4 hills. So, but I mean, honestly, Brock was maybe 3 minutes behind me.
Yeah,
So, I mean, he was right there.
Yeah, he wasn't too far back. So, yeah, I was sitting there waiting for him. I was like, who's going to come around that corner? Because I had known that you guys all went out together, and I was like just waiting to see who would jockey where. So it was kind of exciting, and it was fun to watch. I love when I see, things, come down to like a race. It makes it way more exciting to watch. And then when you finished off, how'd you feel from that? Like you've said, you're kind of building up, and you're probably going to build up towards the end of this year as well with this. Feel good and feeling strong and stuff like that?
I honestly think I hit all of my calories and stuff. Like I had a good nutritional day. So honestly, I finished feeling really good. So I felt good about that. Body has felt great this week, and
Do you like races being kind of a closer race? I think if my memory serves me right, I think you had a pretty close and incredible battle during Burning River. I think it was 2018, and I think this is one of the craziest stories in ultra running history, possibly at that race that took place. And so, like, is this just a thing with you with your races that you kind of like people to hang on, and you like to hang on to other people and just like kind of beat them at the end?
I don't know. I didn't plan that one. That's for sure. Shoot. Yeah. I don't know. I'd honestly rather maybe get out in front and run away from people and have them chase me, but it's kind of worked for me in the past. Dropping back and being conservative and kind of picking up the pieces. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know which one I like better. Yeah.
I think we should tell the story of Burning River for those who may not know it.
It's fairly epic, honestly.
Yeah,
And there's
yes.
a video. There's a video somewhere that Brian Poland took.
I'll have to link it in the description afterwards.
Yeah,
If
I'll
we can find
like
it.
paint a little bit of the picture, at least from my memory. And I think, Burning River 2018, Jeremy Pope is, a couple miles, probably a mile from the finish line. And, he sees a headlight up in front, and it must have been BP pacing him there. And Sean Pope, if I remember correctly, was unrelated, but he was winning the race, and Jeremy stole the win from him with, a quarter mile to go, a half mile to go, or something like that.
That's pretty much spot on. I basically coming in second, turn left on I forget the street, but Burning River finishes up at Hi Ho Brewing Company, and I knew the finish was close, and it was my first 100. Just kind of rolling with the punches, Second place, like insane. Look ahead, and there's Sean. Unfortunately, hobbling along. He wasn't doing so hot, and I was apparently fine, I guess. So we truly, it felt like a full blown sprint, is what it felt like for the last mile, and basically nobody at the finish line knew Sean didn't win, kind of thing. It was a bizarre finish, honestly, but it was interesting to say the least.
It has to be one of the most epic 100-mile stories, that I've ever heard of. Just being able to kind of steal a win at the end. You fight for so many miles, and then it all comes down to a half mile, and
Literally.
that's what it's all about.
Or even 17 hours of running to then run for 6 minutes up a hill.
Yeah, I was saying it's not flat there, is it?
No, and the finish is all uphill.
Rob Blue in the chat says search Wooster VR. I just watched it the other day. It's epic. So we'll have to get it, and we'll link it below. So those watching or listening back later can click on that link and go watch it. So
It's literally the entire last mile. Like, I'm not sure. He was just taking a video to take a video, and it's crazy.
It's so hype. Like he's underselling it a little bit here. It might be the greatest ultra running video that's out there in the history of the world.
I think it had like 4,500 views at one point. Kind of crazy, but
Yeah, no, that's awesome. We had to touch on that a little bit because it seems like with Super Bowl kind of you're hanging out a little bit, that kind of jogged the memory a little bit of that fun story. But I kind of want to talk about some sources were out there at the race as well, and they said throughout the day, this isn't John as well, but they said you look super fresh all day, and even at the finish line when you finished, it looked like you just like got done with a local 5K that you jogged early on in the day. Is that kind of your mindset when you're out there? Like trying to like look your best, and then when you finish the race, kind of the people you interact with, or just always having a smile on your face, and making it look easier than it really was. Is that something that you focus on, or does that just kind of come naturally for you?
I'd say that was kind of maybe an outlier, honestly. I, I honestly don't know how I looked and felt as good as I did Saturday. Um, Again, I think I took maybe 6 or 8 gels throughout. Like I felt like I got good calories in, and my stomach didn't turn at any point on me, which I truly believe that's all the difference in like finishing feeling okay, finishing feeling good, or just getting to the finish line and then piecing yourself back together, right?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when you're able to kind of eat more out there, and you don't
Yeah.
come into the finish line, as cooked per se, and I'm notorious for doing this. Like, oh, 6 miles left in the race, no need to eat
You're
any
fine.
calories here. Yeah, you totally good to just suffer my way through, and then you get there and you're gassed. But talk about what your nutrition was like on the day. What gels were you eating specifically, and did you eat from
Yeah.
any of the aid stations out on the course?
So I honestly, I try to never use an aid station, and I just take it as like a bonus. And I guess in that way, I'm a little lucky. My wife loves to support my habit. Um, so she's typically always there, and or a buddy, um, to help crew. So I used, I think somewhere around 6 to 8 Morton gels. And for whatever reason, like Mortons have been super beneficial for me, and no stomach upset, nothing. Knock on wood. Um, as far as like other calories on the day, man, I take a light noon tab. That's all I drink. Um, so I had 4 of those, basically, 4 loops. Um, and then I had a little honey stinger waffle, and it truly just everything sat well on the day. Um, so, and then obviously the Coke, I think, is my go-to pop. So
I was waiting for the extra thing. You're like all like
There's the
nice
one.
food, this structured nutrition that everyone's supposed to stay to on a race, and then I was like, "Where's the Coke? Where's the M&Ms? Where's the something that's extra?" I'm glad.
So that is an aid station binge, I guess, is the M&Ms.
Nice.
So
The Morton gels. I don't know those ones. What kind of like what? Is it just a standard looking like gel, or is it like I guess I don't know much about that one.
I honestly don't know all the details on Morton. Um, Truly, just it tastes like nothing, basically. Just like almost like you're eating Jello, flavorless Jello.
Might be like a good backup thing to keep in the bag. For
They aren't cheap, I will say that.
I don't think any of the sports nutrition stuff's cheap nowadays. My gnarly and spring energy bills are outrageous sometimes. I'm like, man,
Working into the budget.
I know. It's like I started running. I was like, oh, this is the cheap hobby. Yeah, no, not at all.
I think the Morton, maybe, are they $3 or something?
It's about what
I had
spring energies
25,
are.
25 bucks of eating on the day there.
Yeah. When you look at it that way, you're like cringe. Ugh. But it is what it is. Obviously, it works, so it's worth the quality. Um, so I think that kind of wraps up for the most part the Super Bowl 50K. I know we
I would
briefly.
say
Go ahead.
with just to like kind of recap on Super Bowl, awesome course, and the 4 loops seems daunting, I guess, a little. But when you run the race, like, to me, it just doesn't seem like a 50K. Like that loop seems shorter than 7 miles. Ultimately, truly feeling like less than a 50K. awesome course, awesome race.
And everyone there looked like they were having a blast, and all the people who were on that for their first 50K or 25K was great to see. So it's a good community too, I think, there, which is what's great. And Brian does a good about bringing that kind of community to his races. So, just remind everyone again, throw those questions in the chat. Make sure we get those to Jeremy throughout the rest of the evening here. I guess let's look towards the future some more. I know we briefly touched upon this, but kind of like maybe more structured about like what's your plan of attack for these upcoming races and what your training block's going to look like, and maybe some of those goals.
So for sure doing Mohican 100 in June. I'll probably try to piece in some smaller races before then. I think after that, I'm going to regroup on the fall. I'd love to get back to JFK and check that out again. And then I think ultimately I'd love to shoot for Bandera again after missing Bandera with COVID. For whatever reason, like I think I need to give it another shot. Head west of the Mississippi, I guess. Never been to races out west, so I truly just love to go out there and see what happens. Truly, so I think ultimately I'd love to go to JFK, possibly like a Columbus Marathon before JFK on the way to Bandera. So I think those are kind of ideas.
Yeah, no, that's a super stout schedule. And, you've done JFK, like you mentioned in the past. Do you what's one of the main reasons for kind of wanting to return to that race, after so many years? I mean, I guess it's only been 2 years, but it seems like it's been 10.
Truly does. So that was my first race after having a torn meniscus. So I think I was kind of like out of touch with the whole like ultra distance at that point. My legs have truly never hurt so bad. That race, it was tough, honestly. I had tore my meniscus at the beginning of that year. Kind of sort of came back a little bit at a time, but it took me a long time until I felt like I could run 50 miles, basically, right? So truly, I think that would be the main reason behind JFK, just to get back in shape and feeling like I could go that distance. So, and that year I ran well, but there was just a chunk in the middle where I hadn't experienced like that ultra pain for a while, and just kind of like lost contact with it, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's obviously one of the tougher races and one of the most competitive races on the East Coast. So we're excited to see you kind of go down there and, run with, some of the best people, on the East Coast and in the country that come in for that one. So that'll be super fun to see. Looking kind of community wide now, kind of, I feel like a lot of people, that have gotten to know you in the community or through ultra running, kind of look up to you in a way. How do you feel about, the local running community and kind of, that those feelings that, some people may have for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like within Wooster, I made a huge connection with folks like through Vertical Runner, honestly. I had a couple of businesses of my own and I just worked there part-time, but it worked with my schedule and everything. But it was nice to, fit people up with shoes and talk running every single day. Like it was a good time. So I think like a lot of people got to know me then. Outside of that, like even heading up towards Cleveland and everything and those races, I just got to know everyone up there through races. So both communities, like they're great. Wooster, obviously Brian has built the community a little bit with Vertical Runner. So that has been awesome. People have come together. Yeah, I feel like there's like little pockets, right? Yeah, we didn't talk about it, but I actually grew up in Southern Ohio. Obviously, before I was running, I grew up in Logan, but wish I ran then. But
John, what do you got?
Got two quick comments from the chat here again, both from Rob. Rob's our active special guest tonight. Says,
awesome.
Any thoughts on returning to Thunderbird? Jacob Conrad is going this year. And then a secondary comment says, I, for one, am super proud to see how far he's come since we shared a 12-mile tryptophan run.
Yeah, so I met Rob on that run. Brian does like a Thanksgiving, so it's a Black Friday, 2 miles repeatedly, 2 hours worth. Do as many as you can. Every time you complete 2 miles, you throw a ticket in the hopper and draws for prizes or whatever. But so that was where I met Rob. I guess I missed the question there.
Said, are you going to return to Thunderbird?
Oh,
Conrad's going to be there this year.
Thunderbunny. Yeah.
I said Thunderbird. That's why I was like, that's why I was sitting here like, I don't know this one, but.
Sounds weird.
There's a speedway, I think, in Michigan.
Thunderbunny.
He's quick enough. Yeah, Thunderbunny.
I'll be down there, not running, but hanging out.
I think that's where I met Wesley for the first time.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was trying to remember which race, but I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like I've seen you at a dozen or more races at this point now. But I think Thunderbunny 2017.
Sounds right. So. I helped my wife get the kids to bed that night. Drove all the way down. I think it was 3 hours or something. Slept in my truck and ran the race the next morning, and it was absolutely awesome. But I wanted to get back this year, and I don't think the date is going to work. So I got roped into coaching my daughter's 3rd and 4th grade lacrosse team. So coaching and full-time job. So
Sound like a busy man.
That's awesome that they have lacrosse that young, by the way. That's super neat. As a former person who worked in lacrosse, I thought it was kind of.
Did you really?
Yeah, for a bit. Yeah, it was a short time, but it was cool to. It's a growing sport, and
It's huge.
It's crazy to see how it's kind of taken off in different parts of the country now.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's kind of transition now to kind of some of our quicker questions that we kind of like to end the show with. And, if you have any final questions for Jeremy, feel free to drop those in now. But I've got a couple good ones. Here we go. What's one thing that you can't leave an aid station without that you haven't mentioned already?
So outside of Coke and M&Ms, some sort of cookie for sure. Like just whatever cookie's there, whether it's an oatmeal cream pie or an Oreo, like it has to.
It's awesome.
I usually go towards the sweets, whatever's sweet.
Nice. Let's see here. I like asking this one because it's great. What ball sport do you think you could beat most ultra runners in and or beat Wesley in?
Man. It would. I think I could hold my own in basketball. Outside of that, I don't have much. Girls lacrosse, is that an option?
I was gonna say I cannot throw a lacrosse ball myself or catch one. So if you could do that, you've got
Yeah.
probably 99.9% of ultra runners beat on that.
I'm not big enough to play men's lacrosse, so
It's awesome. What's the weirdest hallucination you've had mid race, or the strangest thing you've seen somebody eat at an aid station at a race?
man, I've seen some odd stuff helping out at the North Coast 24-hour run. Running for 24 hours on a 1 mile loop, people start to get a little weird. I guess maybe we had a guy one time, it was at middle of the night at the 24-hour race there. He wanted a cracker, but he was worried that this cracker would be stale because it was sitting out at the aid station. So he had his wife try the cracker before he could eat the cracker.
That's
I
awesome.
think that's, yeah.
Yeah, I love that story. That's great.
Yeah.
'Cause, I mean,
I don't think I've hallucinated at any races yet that I know of.
keyword
So,
yet.
It's I need to get in the backyard ultra. I think that's just what that proves. You're not trying hard enough.
yeah. I like to go to sleep every night, honestly.
Yeah. I'm with you.
If ultra running had walk-up songs like baseball, what would yours be?
It's a great question. I honestly, it's going to be rap for sure. And I think it would be Hate It or Love It by The Game. I think it's The Game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're adding some rap to the playlist. I like this. This is our Spotify Tunes of the Nation playlist available on Spotify in the links below. And I think that is a good addition to the playlist. So we're pumped about that one.
I think in an ultra, like my iPod has anything from the Frozen soundtrack to Pearl Jam to Tupac. So
Nice.
That's awesome. That's. Are you a music person when you run, like during races or on training runs naturally?
I'm usually not. Anything 50 miles or over, I'll use it as like bait for myself, just like a little reward, maybe halfway through or something.
That's kind of been one of my big things recently in training is like I've been using music a little too much. It's been a little colder out here, and running in the evenings or whatnot. It's a little bit of music has been a little more motivating for me to get out the door recently. But I got to cut that habit as soon as the best holiday of the year comes up next week with daylight savings time. So it should be beneficial for everyone.
I do agree on that being the best holiday of the year. I love when the clocks change forward. I mean, you lose an hour's
I've
sleep,
never heard that.
but it's amazing.
It's easily the most underrated holiday of the year, but personally, I think it's one of my top holidays of the year. So
I think I'm with you.
that's awesome. And then one of our final questions here: if you could run with one person in the history of the world, even if they aren't a runner, and they would be able to run with you and keep your pace, who would it be, and where would you run?
So I think this answer has kind of changed in the last couple of years here, but I think it would for sure be Tommy Ribs. And it would be 100% in the Grand Canyon.
Awesome answer. Yeah, it would be an interesting conversation to have. That's why it would be very cool.
Just an unbelievable dude. So wealth of knowledge, like just who knows where the conversation would go, right?
Yeah.
I'm excited for his new walking series. If it's not already out already, that's going to be released very shortly. So I'm going to be tuned into that, and just the insights that he provides are super special. So I'm
100%.
pumped. I'm pumped for that.
I don't run on a treadmill much, but when I do, it's like anything that can get you through it, right? It's like just Tommy Ribs talking about what flower is on the side of the trail and what it offers. Yeah.
So good.
Do you have any last sponsors or social media plugs or anyone you want to say thanks to before we wrap up here?
No sponsors. No. I mean, you can follow me on Instagram at Pope Runs. I guess being like a Super Bowl kind of interview. I guess thanks to Jacob for sharing three laps. Tons of good conversation there, and then thanks to Brock Martin too. I was honestly worried he was going to kick my butt there on that fourth loop. He kept me honest. So I think that's it.
No thanks to Alex Gold.
Well, he won. I mean,
we never get to see Alex, so it's like I don't know. Yeah, he goes. I think he said something like, "Can't wait to share some miles together" or something. And I didn't know what he was talking about, but
you meant the post race cool down or something. You guys really all did together.
Alex
is so great.
He's good people. It was great though when I got to see everyone cross, like the leaders from both male female come through, and you were like we were talking about earlier, the only one who wasn't hands on knees dying when you crossed the finish line, like looking fresh. So.
I think I got a little bit of adrenaline from somebody giving me hope. I don't know. Somebody told me out there that Alex was hurting. I was like, I'm sure this is like false information or something. I don't know. But there might have been some adrenaline there. So.
Well, I think that's all we have for this evening. Thanks for joining us tonight, and thanks for talking to us and sitting down and talking about Super Bowl. And it was wonderful to get to hear your story and learn more about you. Thanks to everyone in the chat, everyone being active. Rob, you get the special chat award for the evening for asking so many questions. It's great. Other than that, I think that's everything, right, Wesley?
Yeah, I think that's everything. Stay tuned. We'll be live next Monday for Voss Talks at 8 p.m. Eastern for an Ohio's Backyard Ultra preview with the race director Michael Owen for that race. So if you're running that race or you want to tune in to the preview show, you'll be able to call in live to Voss Talks, and it should be a super special episode. So join us next week, Monday at 8 p.m. for our next show.
Yeah, bring 2 beers because it's going to be a long one. You're going to need that second one.
We may break our record for the longest Voss Talks on that episode, so that would not shock me. But thanks so much for joining us, everyone, tonight, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you, guys.